Ladies and mostly gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today. What are your favorite axles in an RC crawler? Mine right now are the Capras, and that is what we are going to be using today for this custom crawler build. We are continuing with our custom comp crawler build. This is going to be made for C2 and C3 SORRCA competitions, and if you've been following along, you know that I am using the Capra axles for it. So I'm just going to call it a Capra build. That's pretty much what we like to base things off of is the axles. But if you like to call your rig something different based on some other parts, let me know in the comments. But we're just going to call this a Capra build, even though there's really only a little bit of Capra left to it. So today's plan, well, let's start with what we've already done. Yesterday's plan was that we bolted this frame rail together. We got our forward mounted servo mount on there. We got our sliders. We have our center transmission on there. And that is pretty much where we got to. Got the CMS mounted on there. We're gonna have to change out some parts today because some new ones came in, but we are gonna work on the links, the Panhard mounts, and the other Panhard mounts. So let's get right to it. The first thing we're going to start with is the Panhard mount. Let's see if we can have this show up. It is the TGH, the Team Garage Hack Panhard mount for the Capra axle. And as you can see, it keys in, well maybe you can see, it keys into the holes on the axle trusses and then has an extra little half moon to key in extra well just to prevent twisting, because these two little holes, there's a good bit of torque, basically. There's a good bit of torque from these two holes to the Panhard mount itself. So this little half moon shape is kind of critical in my opinion to keep things from flexing too far and possibly ripping it out of the axle. To my knowledge, they're the only company that makes the Panhard mount with that little extra half moon. So if we just take a look at the axle itself, this piece is going to key right in to these holes on the truss. And then we bolt in our plate from the other side. And I do believe I'm on the proper side of the axle. Maybe I'm not. I was not. That's okay. Easy peasy. Oh, what a nice fit. Just hats off. Hats off to Team Garage Hack on this one. I did help him with the design some, but Chris did all the hard work. And wow, yeah, it's pretty solid. It's not going to fall out easily. Of course, we got to use that retaining plate. Yeah, nice press fit. Oh, love it. I love it when a nice part comes together right. And it also has a little clearance right there for your link nut, the retainer for your link. Neat. All right. And I would recommend using Loctite on these parts. I shall not be today because we are going to end up disassembling and reassembling this guy. But this little aluminum plate, little keeper plate, little cinch plate, just snugs everything up together. And since this is a metal part that is crushing plastic, you really don't want to crush it too hard. And I'm just going back and forth between the two. As it cinches down a little bit, the other one will get loose. And we just kind of go back and forth a little bit. And again, don't go too buck wild on the torque. But there we go, nice and solid. The axle housing is probably going to break before this guy comes loose. And we are looking for our new chassis Panhard mounts. So as you can see, they are CNC aluminum for one. And for two, they have a longer link length. And this is going to help with the axle swing on there. And since the Panhard mount on the axle is custom designed, we can get an equal length of steering link and Panhard link so that the axle swing and the swing of our drag link of the servo is the same length, and then you don't get weird articulation issues. That's more of a designer's problem, or not a problem if you know what you're doing. And since this one was 3D printed out of plastic and the new ones are out of aluminum, I'm assuming I'll have to use a slightly shorter screw so that we don't hit our servo. All right, so what we want to make sure is that we have at least 3 threads engaged on here. It's got to go through the frame plus into the item that we're bolting into, which is the chassis servo mount. So 10 millimeter. Again, we're threading into metal into metal. I would recommend Loctite, but once again, I shall be reassembling this. So no Loctite needed. All right, there we go. New Panhard mount on the chassis, Panhard mount on the axle. So the next thing we need to do is add some links for the front axle. These are from Hardcore RC. These are for the Capra. So I've actually got some other specialized ones right here. Our links did not come with any instructions on which one was which, you know, that would have been kind of nice, but whatever, not too big of a deal. I'm assuming that the one link that is by itself is going to be the third link for bent lowers. These two that are the same, these two that are not the same, and then we have a straight link. So looking through the bag of links, they did not have instructions on there, but we can probably figure out what is going on. We have 4 links that are all the same length. I would assume that these are going to be our lower links. We have 1 link that is longer than the rest. I would assume that since it is by itself, it is going to be a 3 link for the front, your third upper link, the triangulated link. Then we have 2 links right here that are the same length. More than likely, they're going to be our uppers on the rear. And then we have these 2 that are different links and a straight link. The straight link is more than likely going to be our drag link on the servo. And then since our Panhard was wrong in there, I'm assuming that one of these would be what it was, but we'll figure that out as we go along. That's kind of the neat thing about building your own rig, is sometimes you got to figure things out, but it's just a little bit of trial and error. Bolt it together, take it apart, bolt it together, take it apart. I'm just going to dump these into this little round. There we go. Now, building links is really not all that much trouble, but I like to use a little bit of needle nose pliers to push our ball ends in. Boop. And then I end up using a driver, a Allen driver, to thread on the link. We'll get it started first. So what I'm gonna do is use a little bit of the plastic bag and a set of pliers, a Schrade Tough multi-tool. We're gonna grip the shaft. Hey, I don't wanna over tighten. Just get it to the correct length and stop. Now we get to do this times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 2 ends times 20. So this will take a minute. Yo! And now we are done snapping the pivot balls into our rod ends. And the fun part starts of threading them all on. After we thread them all on, then we will need to make sure that the lengths of links are correct. So we'll start this one by hand. Why was there only one Smurfette? Where did all the other Smurfs come from? Gotta switch hands. All right, get all these straight and even. Now that we've smurfed up our hands by threading these links, I would highly recommend that you get a bench vise for this job, but c'est la vie. We can try to bolt everything together. Now, I do believe that this is our drag link for the front axle for our steering. Yep, look at there, it fits. And I do believe that the next longest links are gonna be our lowers for down here. And I'm just assuming that this one odd length bent, there's actually 2 odd length bent and 1 odd length straight. I'm going to assume that this longest one is gonna be our upper 3 link. So we will now try to bolt everything together and find that out. All right, question, can we get to all of our link pockets? Answer, maybe not. So we got to take a little bit more apart. No big deal. Like I said before, we will be taking this guy apart a few times. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for the day. We have all of our links together and we are ready to start assembling the other parts. That gets us to a good stopping point. We will be able to bolt more together next time, and I think that does it for today. So if you do have any questions about the build, or if you are working on a custom build, I would love to hear what you are working on and what sort of time it took you to build it up. Leave those in the comments for me, and I thank you for tuning in. Have a good day.